They searched the lake. They missed her. 16 days later, she was found exactly where they had already looked. The car was sitting in about 14 feet of water, less than 100 feet from shore, close enough that, in the right light, you could make out its shape from above. Divers had already been in that area. Equipment had already passed over it. And still, nothing. Welcome to the Hidden Chapters, uncovering the truth behind every crime. August 5th, 2022. Truckee, California. It's the kind of place where nights feel quiet even when they're not. Pine trees, open sky, roads that disappear into the dark. People know each other here, or at least they think they do. That night, a party formed near Prosser Family Campground. Word spread the way it usually does. Texts, social media, people showing up with friends. By midnight, there were a few hundred people. Cars lined the dirt roads. Music carried farther than it should have. 16-year-old Kiely Rodni was there. She had her mom's silver Honda CR-V. She'd driven herself. That wasn't unusual. She was trusted to make her own decisions. At 12:25 in the morning, she sent a text, "I'm leaving in 45 minutes." It reads like a check-in, nothing more than that. But later, it becomes the last fixed point. After that, everything depends on memory. People remember seeing her after midnight. Not in a single place, not with one group. She moved around, between cars, between conversations. The kind of movement that blends into a night like that. Some said she'd been drinking. Some said she seemed off. One person thought she was looking for her car. Another thought she planned to sleep in it. No one account is completely reliable, not because anyone is lying, just because nights like that don't stay sharp. Details blur, timing slips. What is clear is this. At some point after that message, Keely left. No one can say exactly when. No one can say exactly how. There's no moment you can point to and say, "That's when she disappeared." It's more like she thinned out of the night. By morning, something was wrong. She hadn't come home. Her phone was off. Her car was gone. Search efforts started quickly. The area around the campground was mapped out and covered, on foot, from the air, with dogs. If a vehicle had gone off the road nearby, there should have been signs. There weren't. No disturbed earth. No broken brush in a pattern that suggested impact. No debris, just intact landscape. The attention shifted to Prosser Reservoir. It sits right next to where the party happened. You don't have to go looking for it. It's just there. Divers went in. Sonar equipment was used to scan sections of the lake. At that point, nothing was found, so the search widened. Because once a place has been checked, thoroughly checked, you move on. That's how it works. August 21st. 16 days after Keely disappeared, a volunteer dive team arrived. Adventures with Purpose. They specialize in submerged vehicle recovery. They've done this before, many times. They launched a small boat and began scanning Prosser Reservoir, the same area that had already been searched. And within a few hours, they saw something on sonar. A shape, not far from shore. When divers went down, they found the vehicle, a silver Honda CR-V, upside down. Yes, you heard it right, upside down. All four tires facing up toward the surface. It was in about 14 feet of water, roughly 100 feet from land. Inside the vehicle was Keely. The car's position raised questions immediately. Upside down suggests rotation, either during entry into the water or as it settled. but there was no widely reported evidence of a high-speed impact on land leading directly into the reservoir. And there were no confirmed witnesses who saw the vehicle entering the water. At night, that area is dark. There are no streetlights along certain stretches. The terrain near the shoreline isn't uniform. There are drop-offs, uneven edges. A car could reach the water without drawing attention. But even so, water entry isn't subtle. There's sound, movement, a break in the stillness. No one reported hearing that. And then there's the depth. 14 feet isn't extreme. In certain conditions, visibility allows shapes to be detected from above, especially with aerial support. Search teams had already been there, which means one of two things happened. Either it was missed, or something about how it was seen didn't register. More mysteries? Tap subscribe. Searches rely on patterns, grids, overlaps, coverage, but they also rely on interpretation. A sonar return isn't a labeled object. It's a shape, a shadow, a suggestion. It has to be recognized for what it is. Water conditions change how things appear. Light shifts, sediment moves, angles distort. Still, people had stood along that shoreline for days. Looking out over that exact stretch of water, the car was already there, not far out, not hidden deep, just below. That detail doesn't prove anything beyond itself. But it changes how the case feels, because it introduces a different kind of uncertainty. Not about what happened, but about what can be overlooked, even when people are trying to find it. The official conclusion points to an accident, a late night, limited visibility, a vehicle entering water. From a distance, that sequence holds. But when you sit with it, certain parts don't settle right away. There's no clear account of her final drive, no witness to the moment the car left land, no single version of events that carries cleanly from the party to the water. And then there's the time, 16 days, with the answer sitting in a place that had already been searched. People tend to focus on what happened in cases like this, but just as often, what stays with them is where things were found and how close they were all along. Because it leaves you with something that doesn't resolve into a clean ending. Not confusion, exactly. Something quieter than that. A sense that the last part of the story exists, but just out of reach. And maybe that's why it lingers. Not because there's a hidden answer waiting to be uncovered, but because even the visible ones don't fully explain the moment everything changed.
If this case stayed with you, you're not the only one. And if you're ready for the details most people miss, there's more waiting in the full Hidden Chapters playlist.